All right, brothers and sisters, what's going on? Hope everybody is doing well and tuning in. We are on the live on YouTube right now. I'm going to drop the link to the YouTube live, brother, in your inbox. So if you want to be able to get a chance, if you want to look at some of the uh, some of the comments, then I'll allow you to be able to do that.
Okay, cool, man.
So let's see here. Let's get this. Share the link. Giving everybody a chance to jump in here in the
Oh
chat,
yeah, for sure.
and we go from there. So I just dropped the link to the video inside your inbox, so that way,
Okay.
um,
Is that my Facebook inbox?
yeah, that's your Facebook inbox.
Okay.
All right, so we're streaming here. Let me get off of this and go from there. Let me share the link. All right, all right. Groups.
Let's share this link real quick.
Got one more group here. All right, what's going on? What's going on? See, brothers and sisters coming in. Shalom, shalom. What's going on? Hope everybody doing well. Hope everybody's doing good. We are here on live, and so definitely like and share, man. Hit the like button, hit them thumbs up, and definitely share it to your groups. I definitely have a awesome and profound guest on the show. Not a stranger at all to me, but many of you, this is definitely going to be a dope conversation. Y'all know I've been doing interviews here lately, and so this has definitely been definitely going to be one of my favorite interviews to kind of get into some things. I mean, many of you have heard the history. Some of you heard the history of about Gnosticism. Some of you heard it from different sources, but I'm a firm believer in also having a conversation with those who hold a particular belief and hearing it from the horse's mouth versus going on what others are saying. Definitely feel free to ask questions when the time permits. And definitely we're going to get into it here shortly. So definitely thank everybody for jumping on, who's jumping on. And I know brothers and sisters are definitely going to be sharing it. So what's going on, brother, man? I'm going to let you introduce yourself and whatnot. They see your name in the title and everything like that. So let everybody introduce. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Where you from? Where you hanging out at? Where you living at? All that good stuff, man. This is one of them kickback interviews. With somebody
Okay.
that you can kind of be a little loose and kick back. You don't have to be as politickish or whatnot. But go ahead, man. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. First, blessings to everybody. Blessings to you, my brother. Like you said, it's not anything new. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, definitely can hear you
Okay.
clear.
Okay. Yeah, it's not. We definitely not strangers to one another. We met each other when you did that hilarious commentary to me kicking Garfield around that day. But yeah, it's been good, man. I'm originally from the Midwest. I'm living out west right now on the West Coast right now. So just enjoying life. My background is I'm Sabian as of present. That means I'll get into that later. I'll explain a little bit more. But my Christian background, as far as what coming out of the church and things like that, I was a minister for about 7 years. I grew up in the church, grew up in modern Christianity, Western Christianity. Spent most of my adult youth and outreach and different things like that. I was under a bishop for many years, just kind of, learning the in and outs of religion. I've always been into spirituality. When I left Christianity, I dabbled around a little bit in Judaism, got into some other things just to kind of feel around and just kind of see what was out there, because I was always interested in the knowledge first and coming to the truth above anything else. So that was my path, and it's brought me to a place now where, as I said, I'm a Sabian. I'll explain what that means. It's a cultural thing as well as a religious thing, and it has a lot to do with the biblical narrative. It has a lot to do with the history as far as the lineage of the people, who they are, and where they come from, and why it's important that we make this line that actually defines things. So that's who I am, man. Other than that,
So listen, we again, it's been since 2019. We've known each other, chop it up, back and forward in the inbox and things like that. We've talked on the phone a couple of times and stuff like that. But definitely, hit it off. From my perspective, from your perspective, there was. It's always good to be able to have a conversation, even if there's a difference of opinion, different of doctrine, or whatever there is. It's always good to be able to sit down like adults, like men, and say, hey, listen, this is what it. So anytime we was on the phone and talking about just different, from your perspective to mine, it was never one of these contentious things like, oh, this, that, and third, that's trash and all. It was definitely from a dialogue perspective, just a respect level. And I think that's something that people who definitely, you get into things like academics, because there's a lot of people within academia that have a lot of different views, but they can sit down and have a conversation, a healthy conversation, and just look at different perspectives. And I think that's the thing is, but of course, in these streets of the internet, you're going to always have, the contention, the wars, and all this other stuff.
few.
Yeah. So how did you get involved, with coming out? Like how did you pop on the scene? Because I guess it would seem as though you just came out of nowhere for most people. How did you come into, getting, and we're going to talk about, I know you was on Garfield, you popped up on Garfield joint, and but how did you, when you decided to come out, was it a gradual come out after you, I guess, had been away for some time? Or you was a minister, you was a Christian at one point in time, and what brought you to the place, the decision to say, okay, it's time for me to come out with all I've been studying behind the scenes?
Okay, I would say the primary reason would be the climate of things right now, as far as with the just the subjects that are up in the air, as far as the ethnicity of the people. There's a lot of questions being asked, and there's a lot of information out there right now, and a lot of ideas that are being propagated. So I feel like we need to have every side of the spectrum before we can come to a conclusion on the things. And I know that there's information that is missing from the narrative. So I would almost be irresponsible not to at least information share at this point, because there's so many questions being asked, and there's certain paths where you hit a brick wall. You're like, well, you don't want to just cross, make something up or create something, but that there's something there, and you just may not be able to find it. So I come in and I say, well, hey, here's some more information to that. Maybe this will help you out on your journey. But on a more carnal level, I was, plugged into the conscious community just as a listener. Like, I'm not, I was never jumping on trying to convert anybody to anything. But when you hear enough misinformation, bro, you don't say anything. And I started just in the chat. I didn't care about getting on the panels or anything. I just be putting my little information corrections in the chat, and it would just be irritating the crap out of people. So eventually they call you on and they say, all right, if you big and bad, hit the link. And I just was never afraid to hit the link. So that's how everything started as far as the community goes. But I just don't like misinformation, bro.
So let me ask you this, because it was something key that you said. And I'm one of the ones, I stand firm on this as well. It was something key that you just said. You said that when you came out, you were not trying to convert anybody. it's for some reason people seem to think that because you come out online and because you start teaching and things like that, that your ultimate goal is to proselytize or convert people to the things that you believe. And I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings, I guess, because within the Christian world, that is kind of their thing, that they want to try to, pretty much convert people to whatever ideology they believe, which there's different belief systems even within even within Christianity. Um, but you said that it wasn't your goal to go. You just wanted to uh, present the information because you felt as there was a lot of misinformation about from your perspective. Would it be? Would your point of belief system would be from a Gnostic perspective?
100%, 100%. And let me say, it's not always in a corrective way. Like sometimes it's just like we talk about all the time in community. People say, I want to build. I'm just trying to build. But what you'll run into a lot of times is if you have an alternative view about something, people are not as willing to build anymore. They
Right.
want to they block your side. So my thing was always, if you go back to the ancient times, the Greek times, and you dealt with the ancient philosophers and even the early politicians and the senators, those men got things done because they were able to come together and just share ideas and opinions and truths. And, they spend whole journeys walking together, just discussing philosophical ideas just to come to some kind of agreement on it. And I feel like if we can't even do that, basically, if I can't come in with an opposing view, and not even to oppose you, just to add to the conversation and not be heard, then we got a real big problem in the community. So it's just that. And just to give an example, I was on a channel recently where the conversation was great. We were just talking about this kind of stuff. And in the course of the conversation, it was historic, non-religious. But I had brought up the prophet from Islam. And because of my historical and cultural background and religion, whenever I mention someone else's prophet or someone that I honor, I add the necessary epithets of respect. So when I said the Prophet Muhammad, of course, behind that, I said, peace be upon him.
Right.
Well, the host stopped the conversation right there. And it didn't matter what we were talking about before. It didn't matter the context of the conversation. It doesn't matter that it was a historically based conversation. Everything became in verbatim, don't come on my channel proselytizing. And I said, well, first of all, I didn't come on your channel as a Muslim. So how am I proselytizing? Because you said peace be upon him. I don't want to hear that. Then you realize it's more than just about the religion. It's about your personal hatred and your personal feelings about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we see a lot, even now. So what was your process of digging through all this? Now, there would be within in many biblical circles, you have the pseudepigraphas, you have the apocryphas, you have many within the Hebraic community. They hold dear to as the same as they hold to the 66 books, they hold to the apocryphal books as inspired. Of course, you have the Ethiopian Coptic Church, who has well over 70 books in their canon and things like that. That is considered inspired amongst them. And so when you started getting into these things, and I know others that deal with certain things like the Book of Adam and Eve, and they get into a lot of these other things. What was your process of when you were going through these things? I know, was it a tradition versus the experience? Or did those things clash? Because growing up as a traditional Christian, it's like, hey, if it's not in the 66, it's not canon, it's not inspired. You don't look at those things. You don't touch it. The church fathers have already established what our doctrine is. So what was that process like? Did you have to read, basically vomit up everything that you've learned and re-eat all over again? Was that the process for you?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. And it was more than just, I would say it's more than just a mental process. It was actually a physical process that you have to go through. I mean, this is something I would say, it took years for it to get in you. It's not going to take a couple of days or months to get it out of you. So this was a process of mourning. It's like something dying that was close to you, someone you love, having to go through that process, then really having to look at the relationship for what it was, and and how you prioritized it and how it really holds truth to you. So all of those different things. But I would say for the most part, for me, it's just it was just a sifting of more so information, because like you said, Christianity gives you that core foundation idea of nothing outside of the 66 books. But then you look at concepts in the Bible where Christ is talking to his disciples and he tells them things like, there are things that I want to say to you now that you can't understand, but I'm going to tell them to you later. And of course, we understand this later to be post-resurrection. And, once they're able to eat the meat, then he's going to bring it to them. But then you have to ask yourself, where's all that information? Where's all that revelation that he promised those followers? Now, Paul wasn't there yet. You know what I mean? When these things were being promised, and you don't tend to see a representation of that when you remove the Pauline epistles from the Bible. You have to ask your question, was Jesus lying? Or did he really give them that information that he said, and somebody looked at that information and deemed that information non-canonical because they couldn't necessarily understand it? So my thing is, if you have the scriptures as your core foundation, and if the scriptures are true, then you shouldn't be afraid to open the books. You understand?
Right.
Because the scriptures will act as a sifting net, or as a filtering net to let all the crap fall through and let everything that basically holds weight last. So that's that, if that makes sense.
So basically, are you basically essentially saying that the church fathers didn't have the authority to decide whatever their council, because there were several councils. Are you saying that they didn't have the authority to decide based off whatever council they was meeting, that they didn't have the fullness or didn't have the understanding of it? What are your view on the councils?
My view on the councils, any council that wasn't born out of the area of Edessa, I have a problem, because you don't hear it. Once again, it's not the things that you see in Christianity that are the paradigm shifting, elements. It's the things you don't see. It's not the people that you read about. It's the people that you don't read about that were historically present. And so when you look at the history of places like Edessa and places like Adiabene, these sister kingdoms, and the importance that they held to early Christianity, Edessa actually being the first, what we can call, hub of Christianity. But when you hear about Christianity, it's always moved to Antioch, or it's always moved to somewhere in Greece or somewhere like that. And it's like, when you see things like that, the questions have to be asked, like somebody shifted something. So as far as authority, I think you have the authority to do whatever you want to do, as long as what you are exercising authority over belongs to you. So I believe that the narrative that the church fathers are exercising authority over does belong to them. So they can shift it how they want. But I do believe something else paid a price for this version of the story.
Right. So do you think that there was a lot of European influence based off of what doctrines that we have today and what is viewed as canonical or canon? Do you think that there was a lot of heavy European influence over that?
The actual writings?
Yeah.
No, I think the writings are reflective of of the people from that area. But as far as I think there's European influence as far as editing. Okay. Having the ability to edit and to remove, because you can edit enough, as you know, with commercials, anything, you can edit enough material to make something look the way you want it to look. So sometimes that's as powerful as having a pen in your hand creating. You know what I mean?
Was Gnostics troublemakers in the early church? Were they bringing in different, damnable heresies and doctrines into the church? What were they doing that? Because this is what we hear. So I want to ask somebody that's a Gnostic to elaborate so that everybody can get an understanding of what's being laid out from your historical perspective, because there's always two sides to every story. So we want to make sure that we hear the full story. Were they troublemakers? Yes.
Gnostics were not troublemakers until you had that group of people, which if you want to look them up, they're called the Paulutes or the Paulutians, which later transitioned into what we now know as the Paulines and all the different things like that. But when you talk about troublemakers, in the original manifestation of Christianity, the Gnostics were the indigenous people. You see what I mean? They were the indigenous belief. Now, they might not have been called that. Of course, that's a term that transitioned throughout time. But as far as the Nabateans, the Sabians, the different groups that had gathered in these areas, they were the indigenous believers. Now, when you had this group that came in, because you got to think at first when this all began, Rome was at odds with the Christians. Rome, there was a battle going on between whoever these early Christians were and the Roman Empire. Now, at a certain time, we get a story in Christianity about people having visions and Nero and different people converting. And we know at some point something happened that caused Rome to become very friendly with Christians. Now, some people say it's because a Roman emperor was converted and converted his own people. But the history of the Gnostics are that the people who were in favor of the Pauline doctrine, and this was like a sect, almost cult-like, where Paul's writings and Paul's doctrines, not to say that the writings were wrong and that Paul was wrong, but remember when Paul and I forget who it was with, but they had rebuked the guys who were trying to worship him as gods and said, we're just like you, don't. It had become something like that where cults began to develop around your favorite personality, your favorite apostle, your favorite disciple, where these Paulines or early Paulutes, they literally made, in essence, to shorten it, a deal with the Roman Empire to say, if we can pretty much get rid of the rest of these sects, and hold
on. You said the early Pauline followers, they made deals with the Roman government.
I say deals to explain it in our terms today. You know how you would swindle. They betrayed their brotherhood basically with Paul's writings to bring Paul's writings to the forefront as preeminent and to give them as a cult and as a sect with, as you said, authority over the workings of the church. So, but before them, you had diverse schools of thought as far like you said, men were talking about this subject. They just this group had this idea. This group had this idea. They were bringing these ideas to share them so that they can come up with some kind of uniform Christianity to give to the people. But then you just had this one group that came and said, all right, everybody shut up. It's our turn.
So let's kind of segue into this 2019 situation where there was a open call and open opportunity on a particular individual channel that we both know. And you called in and I just so happened that day I was listening to the show because it was a brother that was talking about, I guess it was something dealing with like Christian pastors and the Almond Ra Squad or something. I just kind of try to keep my ears to the streets on a lot of things and different groups. So that day I happened to just particularly be listening. And when I logged on, it was probably 30 minutes before you came on. So I'm just kind of around the house listening, with it on and then I hear this brother come on. I'm just gonna play it and then we'll talk about it from there. Hold on, let me see here. Let me share my screen here so we can check this out. If you can, go ahead and put yourself on mute real quick.
Absolutely.
All right, brothers and sisters, I'm going to play this and I'm going to start at this marker here so that way you guys can listen to this. And then after that, we're going to do some commentary and we're going to let our brother sit here and elaborate a little bit and get into some things that he got going on right now. All right. So let's play this here. All right, I just want to bring this stuff out so y'all see when they be trying to pull this madness, we can go ahead and deal with it.
And so those are good sources to decide whether you want to believe that they are actual deified principles, ancestors, gods.
Well, how about I'll give you a more ancient source. Okay?
312.
Yeah.
Because like if you want to go if we want to go to Egypt and deal with the pantheon, however you want to view these gods, the creator of the Egyptian pantheon was Ptah.
In one of the cosmologies, it was also a tomb, right? It's also a tomb. It's also the Kimenu. So there are a number of there's the Aten, there's the Aten, right?
If you're just not tuning in, this is Brother DonLa who's on the phone right now, who's on the live here for the interview, Gnosticism versus Christianity. And this is him and Dr. Reggie in a discourse on Garfield's channel. All right. So, and it's going to be some of the other brothers that's on Garfield's channel going to come in. So it's going to end up being kind of like a triple team against Brother DonLa, who's on the live right now.
So there are a number of, it's just not one. So that's the whole point. The whole point is this.
Okay, let's deal with the school of thought, because like you said, this was a long history, and throughout that history, there were periods of time when Asar was not even mentioned at all. So we know
exactly right.
Kemet has gone through its different transitions. So what I'm talking about is there is a legitimate school of thought and of practicing in Kemet, where when we're talking about Ptah as creator, I can take you to a source of
Shabaka stone. The Shabaka stone.
I'm not talking about the Shabaka stone. If you go to the Mandan writings, okay, which basically are representations of the transliterations of some.
Hold on, brother. It's Garfield. Wait, you said what writings? I'm sorry.
What writings? We're looking it up.
Hold on. What writings you said, brother?
What?
Okay, we're looking. I'm gonna give you the information.
Did you say the Mandan writings?
Mandan.
Spell it.
Sabian
writings. The Mandan writing. Oh, you're talking like John the Baptist.
Okay. The Sabian writings. Okay, yeah, so that's. Okay, so that's way later. You do know that, right?
What do you mean way later? From what point?
I'm talking about maybe from about 1000 BC or something like that. The Sabian writing and language.
Well, to be honest, to be fair and no disrespect, but Dr. Ben is way later too. We're just talking about different sources here.
What does Dr. Ben have to do with Sabian?
Well, Dr. Reggie and I'll do
Brother Reggie.
Brother Reggie, you gave certain sources to me and said I should look at these sources and read them. So now I'm giving you a more ancient source. I'm not taking it all the way back to Kemet.
One is a person and one is a period in a group of people. So I'm just trying to say.
So does their account not matter? And they were closer to the event than any of us?
No, it was synchronized. So you have to know that there was a lot of syncretism, a lot of how can I say, combination of thinking at that particular time period.
I'm very well versed on the Sabian beliefs and the Mandan writings. I didn't come in here as a person that is not studied or trained in this. So what I'm asking you is, do you take their writings as credible on these events or not? Because if you don't, then there's no point in having this conversation.
Okay, well,
they are credible witnesses to some of these events and the school of thought at the time.
Wait, they are credible to what events? The religious event or the?
They're credible witnesses to the cultural mindset of the people at a time more ancient than ours at present. Meaning, their writings can speak to the mentality of those people and how they viewed that time better than our sources in our modern times.
We can glean from their writings, but that's way later than ancient Kemet writings.
I agree
right?
with you. That's later than.
So we can glean from that, and we can get an idea of what they believed, right? And so that part is valid. I'm not going to argue with it. But when I say that now, what's your point? Is it something significant? Should I worship it? Is there something significant about their writings?
No, I was about to explain what it was.
Okay.
I was giving them as a source to, as I said, if we want to deal. I'm sorry, I lost you for a minute. You got me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Basically, what I'm saying is, if we want to deal with the perception of how these
Rashid, you crazy.
We're looking
you
at
absolutely
all
right.
schools of thought and considering all schools of thought. All I'm telling you is there is a school of thought that will trace not only the throne of Ptah back to an original person, but it will also predate Ptah and explain to you who established the throne of Ptah. So when we're talking about were these people gods or were they actual elements or manifestations of ideas of elements, there is a line in Egypt that can be traced back at least to the Mandaean and the Sabian people that teach that the throne of Ptah was established by a person, that Asar was a person, that Aset was a person, that all of these people existed.
Actually,
wait, you can't do that. No, you cannot go into a later text. You cannot go into a later text and establish, especially something that's 1,000 years, 3,000 years later, and establish what the original people wrote when the Sabian people have their own concepts, their own language, and it's not really clear.
Which is completely
okay. So you're doing a connection thing.
He's missing.
No, but I'm asking
you can't do a connection thing.
Show me the text in ancient canon.
Brother,
I want to see the text in ancient canon. I just want to
question. Because you know where you're going to go? You know where you're going to go? Because out of this Mandaean text and also all of this Sabian text, then what we do is we get into what you're trying to do. You may not try to do this, but other people will do it. You're going to try to use, because you know, the Christian faith, all those.
Now, listen to this. Listen to this. Ron, you're right. Yeah, we definitely need to. He wouldn't give his name on the show. But listen, man. Listen, here's the thing, right? Reggie. Watch what Reggie does, man. Reggie he presents a steroid straw man, okay? He presents a hyper steroid straw man into the question. Why is he bringing Christians into this when the brother never identified himself as a Christian or an Israelite, and yet Reggie's trying to bring Christians into this? This is what you call diversion so I can get away. Okay, this is exactly what's going on with Reggie here, okay? And all the other brothers know it, and they trying to throw bombs and smoke screens and everything else to help Reggie get out of the situation that he's in, okay? This is exactly what's going on. This is a steroid of a straw man, okay? Look at listen to this, man. Hold
on. Indo-European faiths, they link up to Solomon and Sheba. So Sheba now is somehow connected to Solomon, right? And so now you get all this other,
No, I have nothing to say about Solomon.
Right. But the text that you are talking about actually
does. Nothing to say about Solomon and Sheba. We're not, the text that I'm speaking of right now has nothing to do with Solomon or Sheba. You're bringing that in.
No, I am, because I have to, because the term, okay, so the etymology, the term Mandaism comes from Manda and appears in Neo-Mandaic on the basis of cognates and other Aramaic dialects. So it is an Aramaic dialect. You do know that, right?
You're going, like I said, don't assume that I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, well, I'm just telling the public, according to the Mandaean text,
why don't you
the recorded history of the Mandaeans began with a group called the Nazarenes, the Mandaean priestly.
Are you an expert on these people?
No, I'm just reading you the source. I don't have to be an expert.
So you have a source. You're talking about.
I'm giving you the Trojan horse. I see the Trojan horse and what you're doing. You're bringing in Aramaic.
There's a lot of fear.
No, I got that.
The brother said, y'all, did y'all hear what Caller 312 said? Caller 312 said, there seems to be a lot of fear starting to creep up in the conversation. Oh, man, these dudes. All right, y'all, I'm going to stop sharing at this point. I think that's enough. Definitely, brother. So, hold on. Let's see. Go ahead and unmute yourself there, brother. Go ahead and unmute yourself. So you kind of want to go ahead and kind of end that kind of that tirade of what ended up happening there. I know there's plenty more of the video that I could play, but it was quite interesting. You know, after that, I think you kind of got triple teamed. And they couldn't handle it.
I think about 3 or 4 guys came out the woodwork to help him out. But since that day, me and Reggie have not been. He don't like me, man. Yeah, so whatever. It is what it is, man. You know. Yeah. But yeah, that was just a conversation where and that's what happens. Like they're just uncomfortable with anything that they haven't heard, anything. And I think that if they get, once you got to the end of that conversation, it ended because I simply called Reggie on his BS. I'm like, he kept saying this about the Mandans, about the Sabians, about all these people. So I simply asked him, have you ever read any of the text before? Like, because you're speaking so confidently. And of course he stutters and, tosses the ball around and eventually admits it. He has never read the text. So then the question becomes, then what is the argument about? You know what I mean? Because I've always heard in the community that Dr. Ben would, or who, I'm not sure if it was Dr. Ben or Dr. Clark, but somebody would say, depending on the subject, if you're not my teacher, then you're the student in the situation. But that seems to only matter when you respect that person, right? Or respect that person's personality. But when it's something that you haven't heard from somebody you don't know, then it's like, then everybody comes out of, like wolves. But they just didn't want to deal with the real on the subject. That was all. They didn't want to deal with it because, and it's the strangest thing in the world, because the Sabian version of these events and the Sabian version of this legend places things closer to Africa than anything else. So for people to claim to be, pro-African and pro all of this stuff, you wonder why you would be fighting against a legend or a tradition that actually brings one of the most sacred cultures closer to Africa. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, so so after that, so basically, I guess you haven't had any more dialogue with the brother Reggie since then. But have you had any dialogue with others that was on that show since then?
Oh yeah. I can get on pretty regularly. I have these spaces where if I say something in the chat, Garfield, he'll delete me, block me for about a month or two, and then I'll come back and he'll be like, "Get on the panel," you know what I mean? It's some weird stuff like that. So it's not that you don't respect the information; it's the message. So I'm cool with that portion of it. But yeah, I'm a regular on there. I'll call in the Sinetta from time to time in different places like that. But I just try to keep my ear to the ground for information purposes. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So so what has been the, I guess, is there anything that you're targeting within, I guess, within the latest of culture, like, or the latest of religions? Is there a specific area? Because I noticed that you recently did a video, and the video was titled Christianity versus Gnosticism. So for that, and within that video, there were specific individuals within that video. So is Christianity, because I noticed that here recently, Shaka Amos, he has made it his business to almost kind of say, well, I battled the Hebrews long enough. We've had our battles, our war, but now his thing is I'm going after the Black Christian pastors, and that's kind of been his thing lately. But for you, and again, we've been knowing each other since 2019, and this is the first time that I pretty much seen that you set a target. Like, okay, I'm sick and tired of y'all running y'all mouth about something that y'all don't know. So when it's Christianity, with the title Christianity versus Gnosticism, are you talking about Christianity as a whole, or is there a version of Christianity that you feel has it together or function in a way integrally that would cause you to say, well, I don't have an issue with the way they do things? And then is there a version that you say, look, I'm tired of them, I got to deal with them?
Okay, let me see. How do I answer this? First of all, I feel like Christianity is in the doctrine, like the correctness of the doctrine, the truthfulness of the doctrine. So outside of the doctrine being correct and truthful, I don't call that Christianity. Whatever it is, an imitation, even myself having been a part of it, I own it for what it is, because it's not what was left to us. So in particular, these two brothers that have made it their business to attack. I think what made my eyebrow raise and my ears perk up was they seem to be presenting themselves in this way to where it's like I want to listen. And in particular can turn into Hebrew Israelites and things like that. Like, I want to come to the table. We're black, let's sit down, let's talk about the thing. But then you hear these sly comments and these attacks, and and they're always coming from a place of where, Christian Avengers almost. You know what I mean? We're gonna find out what they know, and then we're gonna come in there and we're gonna take our Christian swords and chop. I think he even made a mention one time where he was like, are these lost brothers that we just need to regather back into the churches and figure out a way to regather back, and stuff like that gets under my skin, because then I have to question you on the doctrine that you believe that because even there are some errors in this doctrine and things like that historically. I mean, some stuff you just run into, but for the most part, this is closer than you are. You see what I mean? The things that you've made it your business to attack is closer to the truth than you are at present. So then if I know that, and I know that, see, if there was no group you were opposing as Christians, you were just saying, I'm a Christian, it is what it is. But when you start attacking other groups that are trying to get closer to the truth and are actually getting close to the truth, then I have to be like, all right, listen, bro, did you know this though? And if you did, then why would you believe this, and why would you be propagating this? And they don't have an answer for that. So for the most part, I don't look at their version of, I call them Olympian Christians. Like they're basically westernized Christians. They're Olympians. Everything is from a European standpoint. It's the same truth that existed in the ancient world in Asia and Africa and other places, but it's an Olympian spin on it. And that's what people don't realize. There were two major cultures that were at war in the ancient world, and the Jews or the Hebrews or the Israelites were the centerpiece of this war. And the war was between, and this is before Christianity, this is before Christ came, the war is between the Sabians and the Olympians. It wasn't about the doctrine. It wasn't about whether or not the Hebrews had this doctrine that no one else had, or they had this information that no one else had. The culture of the Hebrews was very similar to other cultures. The difference was you had this group of Olympian people under the term Hellenes, or the Hellenizers, who took a lot of those things and began to transform them into Greek ideas. This is why you'll see some Hebrew names in the Bible you hear in Greek myths, and you'll be like Japhet and stuff like that. You'll see that in a Greek myth, and you'll be like, how the hell? You know what I mean? But some of this was done for preservation purposes, but for the most part, that was the reason, to try to basically win a foothold in this war between these two major groups. And most people don't know that. It's never taught. It's all you hear people arguing over are the religious tenets, the rites, the rituals, even when you get down to the ethnicity. If you knew the core tenets of this struggle between these two groups as a Black man, you would understand why your place in this culture is being pushed aside, and why your place is being pushed because as far as the Sabian standpoint goes, there's no argument who the people were. There's no argument what culture they came out of. But when you get to this Olympian mind state, this European mind state, you get an entirely different narrative. But most of us have bought into that narrative anyway. We're just fighting it from a different place.
Man, so when you say that you feel as though that they're using this notion to say, we really want to build, but it's really from a deceptive perspective.
100%. 100. Because if you're talking to me and you're telling me the reason why you're talking to me is because you want to come to an understanding with me, but then I hear later on that whether it was broadcast or not, I hear later on that you had a conversation with someone else, and your intent with talking to me is different when you would describe it to that person. You were being deceptive. And there's no way to get around that. Even if you want to say I did it for the cause of the Christ, then that means the cause of your Christ is a deceptive cause if you're making peace with that.
Right. So your mission is, hey, we can't have non-genuine people who say they're seeking truth when you have a lot of other people out here who is seeking truth, but yet the goal is to tear down or destroy one group of people by the means of, hey, let me give you a hand, but in the other hand, I got a sword or a knife.
Right. And I haven't made that, like, that's not like my mission or anything. I usually sit in the background like this on my, I do a little trolling. It's fun. I will step up when I see certain things, and I've said things about you before in chats because they going through this whole thing where everybody was talking about, Pastor Brown and then
Yeah.
on Garfield's channel. Even I had to come in the chat and say, yo, y'all chill out. I know the guy, he's a good guy, like whatever happened, whatever. But things like that will, depending on how far you take it, then I'll come out. As far as what I feel like my purpose is to the community, I'm a library of information, information that can challenge a lot of information. It's not an ego thing. It's just, if you want the full spectrum of things historically, get all of the information that you can get on it and find out what's really going on. Because if there's something you're missing and you go too far, to really get those things, you'll never be able to get them. So take your time, get all the information, open the books, and let's find out what's what.
Now, do Sabians, do they have congregations, or you kind of like, I guess would be the non-traditional or more of a historical? How are they in ancient times, and are they still functioning that way? I know most people, Christians or Israelites, they would have what deem assemblies or congregations or modern term churches or whatnot. Do Sabians have that? Do they have gatherings and studies and things like that?
As far as who the Sabians were in the ancient times, well, the term Sabian, for people who have never heard it before, it originated in the concept of Saba. I don't know if you've heard the term Saba before, but Saba was basically the center kingdom or the center city of the kingdom of Kush. Mm-hmm. So when the Kushite Empire ruled Africa and over Ethiopia, that area, they had a major city that was called Merowe. And before the city was called Merowe, it was actually called Saba. And it was next to the cities of Napata and these different places near the Horn of Africa. Well, this is where you get the rulership legend of, and as Reggie said in the video, which I wasn't going to talk about in that video, but they are central figures to this story. The Queen of Sheba that you hear came to Solomon and tested him on his wisdom. Well, Sheba is just a transliteration of Saba. So when you hear the term the Queen of Sheba or the Queen of the South, what they're actually telling you is this was the high queen of the kingdom of Saba in the Horn of Africa. So she basically traveled to see him. The other terms that you hear that come from the term Saba, the term Sabbath, and these different terms that you hear in the Hebrew scripture. So all of these different ideas and cultural ideas have their roots back in the term in the land in Ethiopia and in the term Saba. But the name I want you to keep in mind, have you ever heard the term Sabazius before? Okay, so that's it. Just keep that in mind. You go back and watch the video, just do a little bit of history on that. But that is the central person that becomes the priority for the Hebrews, and that's their connection to the rest of the cultures of the world. So when you read the Bible, you hear about the strangers in your book, and it says the strangers lived among the Hebrews. Yeah. To the modern Christian mind, they think this is just a stranger, a person who's not a Hebrew. Right. No, a stranger was a cultural group of people. They were the Sabian people. This was an epithet that was given to the Sabian people while they were living among the Hebrews. So you had, if you can picture it, you had the Israelites living in their place. And then living among the Israelites, you had a group or a colony of Sabians who had been left to live with the people from the time of the Exodus, when they helped to lead the people out of the Exodus. Well, these people became known as strangers in the Israelite culture. They served in every capacity from service, household servants, different things like that, to even sometimes in a military capacity. But what made them unique was their cultural connection to the kingdom of Saba, to the Queen of Sheba, and to this figure that I'm talking about called Sabazius. So this is why when you hear terms like careful when entertaining a stranger, for people have entertained angels unaware. That was the purpose that these ancient Sabians served to the people. They were actually a group of people, a colony of people who had lived in the Horn of Africa, who had given themselves over to the angels. So I might have a Sabian in my house. He may be my servant, tall African Nubian man. Right. And at any point, because of his culture, and his culture ties him to the culture of the angels, at any point, this man could be used as a vessel for an angel. So that's what they meant. When you're dealing with these people, you have to be careful, because you never know when you're talking to a man or when an angel has taken over this vessel and you're now speaking with a heavenly host.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let me ask you, what are your thoughts on John Calvin, Martin Luther, and the Catholic Church?
Catholic Church, all of it to me ties back to the councils, like you said, to the warping of the information, to the changing of the information. A reformation of mistruth is not going get you to truth. You know what I mean? So I think the entire history that we've been given as ministers and as servants within the Christian church and other places, it's a diluted history. So our church fathers, they're not the fathers of the church. They're just our church fathers. So when we start talking about people like Martin Luther and John Calvin and different things, I don't even consider them church fathers. Yeah, they're the fathers of that version of Christianity. But no, that's like the Mount Rushmore. Those aren't my forefathers. They're just the forefathers of that version.
Right,
you
right.
know, so yeah. But we own them. You see how we own them? When we talk about the history, it automatically goes to that side of the world. And it's like we're a lot of us are unaware that there's an entire different history that's coming from the other side of the world where the church fathers are completely different.
So do you I mean, can you elaborate and just share? I mean, you don't really have to go too deep on this, but are there a lot of Sabians in America? I mean, I'm pretty sure there are probably Sabians, you know, in Africa and things like that. But in America, are you alone, or is there more of you?
No. It's you have Sabians spread all over the world, and you have to separate it because you have cultural Sabians, people who live in the areas of Yemen and the southern parts of Arabia, places like that. And then you still have Sabians that live in the area of Africa that may not be going by those tribal names,
right?
But may be going by other names. You have the Nabatean people. It's different. That's why I use Gnostic more so than Sabian,
right?
Because it's more so dealing with the text than anything else. The Ethiopian church would be closer to a Sabian version than a European version. So it just depends on what text you're using. It's almost a filter you can put on it.
Okay, so what is the Sabian or the Gnostic perspective of Jesus? Like what do y'all think about Jesus? I mean, is it the would be the Christianity version from the Western perspective, or what are y'all belief when it comes down? Because obviously Gnostics were in the first century, you know, especially right during the time of Paul and all these others, they were a part of the church. So what is the perspective? What are your belief system when it comes down to Yeshua or Jesus?
As far as his purpose, his work, and the things that he did,
Mm-hmm.
Basically the Sabians believe, of course, that he was restoring the authority and the throne of Adam. That was chiefly the reason why he came, was to bring that back to a position of authority. As far as who he was as a person, as far as the Gnostic belief on that, the word, we believe he was the Word that was with God in the beginning. The entire First John description of who he was. The only thing that would differ between what we believe and what's taught in major Christianity is the Sabians believe in the idea that there are these things called archons. And that's just another way that you would say rulers and powers of darkness.
Okay.
And these archons have basically dominated the certain spheres of the world and basically kept a pretty dark grip on humanity. Not much different than you find in your modern explanation. But with that, it is taught that Jesus Christ comes from a very higher reality. The word itself coming from a higher reality. So when you read John and it says, I came to those who, I'm trying to remember it by memory. It says, I came to my own.
And my own didn't receive me.
Didn't you, in your mind, you translate that to him coming to the children of Israel.
Right.
But in the Sabian mind, or even in the writings, if you get into the Mandaean writings and Gnostic writings, when he comes to his own, we are talking about when he appeared to the archons and when he appeared to the dark powers as the angel Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Sabian thought, the word, which is ineffable, which is hidden, which was with God in the beginning, throughout the history of the Israelites, manifested itself in the form of an archangel that was mysterious to the archons and the powers. And then that archangel, in essence, manifested himself in the form of a man and then came to his own people. So the Gnostic belief is that Jesus is actually the archangel Gabriel in manifestation.
Okay. All right. Cool.
The word or the messenger of God. So,
right.
Yeah. So it still fulfills the same roles. It's just
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Let me see here. What else? Does anybody have any questions in the chat? Do anybody have any questions in the chat for DonLa. Before we kind of get off here, do you have any questions? Want to make sure we open it up. You can ask him questions, and then from there, I'll turn it over to him. And if he has anything else he wants to add or discuss or talk about, I know we kind of like 30 seconds behind, but I want to make sure people get an opportunity to ask some questions. I know brother Yashar Bey Yisrael says, I need this brother information. I'm on the same journey. Let's see here. Who else is
Absolutely.
here? Where can I find your channel? Do you have a channel?
I am working on that right now. I don't have one as we speak, but I'm working on one for sure.
Okay. He doesn't have a YouTube channel. He's working on that. But what about social media?
You can email me. You can add me on social media. I have a Facebook. It's Don City of Angels. And you can also email me at yeahright7@gmail, just like YEAHWRITE7@gmail. So
on Facebook, what is it on Facebook?
Just Don City of Angels.
Don City of Angels on Facebook. Don City of Angels on Facebook. You can send them a friend request on Don City of Angels on Facebook. If you are also, he said you can email them as well. Give out your email one more time.
That is yeahright, YEAHWRITE7@gmail.com.
All right. Let's see here. Guess as others begin to ask some questions. Anything else you want to talk about? You want to share? Excuse me, before we kind of get off here.
I just want people to keep an open mind when it comes to these things, because I think we're in a pivotal time right now where people are really trying to figure out some very vital information, and there's some things out there that will help and aid you, and it would be ignorant and foolish to just ignore it because the information is new to you, especially when the information that you've been given is something that is foreign to the ancients. So.
Right.
And I'll just give you an example. Most of you, I'm not saying you in particular, but most of the people out there are taught that if I was to ask you a simple question, Moray, and say, where did the children of Yafet, where did they migrate? What would you say?
Well, I would probably say they migrated, they mixed in with Edomites. Also, many of them also would have mixed in with many of the ancient Israelites and became what we know today as many of the Ashkenazis in the land today in Israel. So that's kind of the consensus amongst our tradition.
No, with that, if you want to add to that, because that's true. And if you ask most Christians, I think the answer will be close to that. It probably would lean more so to say the Japhethites, because when it's broken down, they say the black people are Ham, the white people are Japhet, and everybody else is Shem.
Yeah.
But most people are unaware of a Gnostic passage that's dated back to an oracle who was actually a Hebrew oracle. She was a woman living in Greece. And if you take the first passage of this woman's book and you read her oracular utterances, you can put the four gospels down. And what I'm telling you is, you never have to pick the four gospels up aside from reading the crucifixion of Christ. You never have to pick the gospels up, and you can read the first chapters of this woman's book, and she gives you every teaching that you find in the gospels. And these are teachings that are supposed to be coming directly from the disciples of Christ. But we know that these things are written hundreds of years later. So the question becomes, how does this woman who's an oracle, who's given all this information out, know all of these things? But I brought her up to say, in her oracular utterances, she talks about Yafet. And instead of saying Yafet and Gog and Magog, because most people tell you Gog and Magog is in Russia. That's the first thing you'll hear in Christianity. She specifically tells you that Gog and Magog are situated, according to the ancients, beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Now, how much does that change when you have modern Christian minds believing that the Gog and Magog, one of the most powerful kingdoms of the Japhetic line, were situated in a place in Europe where, even if you do the historical research, there was never a kingdom in that place that long ago.
Right.
But if you look at what she's telling you, just as Zephaniah says, if that's the right book, where it says, "From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants will bring my offering, and the daughter of my dispersed shall come," and all these different things. The oracle confirms that by telling you, well, one of the most powerful kingdoms, as far as we understood it, Gog and Magog of Japhet, did not migrate into Europe and up into Russia, but as far as the ancients know, they migrated into Africa beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. So now we have to ask ourselves, what was going on in Ethiopia at that time that people are aggressively trying to change this narrative? And this is when you start having to talk about who the Sabians were, who the Cushites were, what was really happening, and why there's one passage in the Bible that says, "Are ye not," I'm going to let you finish it for me. It says, "Are ye not blank blank Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel?" What is the completion of that passage?
Are you not the daughter? I think it's the daughters and the sons.
Yeah, are you not? And most people will quote it, "Are ye not as the children of
as the children?"
Ethiopia?"
As the children of Ethiopia, right? Yeah.
But there's no "as" in there.
Right.
It simply reads, "Are ye not the children of the Ethiopian unto me?"
Okay.
So if you hear it one way, it sounds like God is comparing you to the children of the Ethiopians. But that's not what it's saying. What it's saying is, in God's eyes, the children of Israel were actually viewed as children of the Ethiopian kingdom, meaning what Israel was in the ancient mind, it was an outpost of the Ethiopian kingdom, of the ancient Ethiopian kingdom. But these are all Gnostic things, strange things.
Brother Royals asked, what was the source of the oracle's name again?
Look up the oracles or actually the name of the book is the Sibylline Oracles. The Sibylline is SYB, and I think there's 2 L's, INE.
All right, hopefully you got that, Brother Royal. Man, them Christians gonna come out. They gonna get you, man.
I love it.
They gonna come out.
I'm waiting.
They gonna drop a video on you tomorrow, man.
Hey, I'm waiting. They don't want to. But that's the thing. They don't want to face me with information heads up. The one thing, this information is not going to get a foothold, only because it's like you said, most people don't even know it exists. And then the question comes into mind: is it just you? Is this and this is the oldest belief system concerning this people that exists. When you compare it to what we have now is embarrassing. Like, you literally want to get it off of you before it soils you anymore. But we so scared of what comes from over that side and from that side of the world when we hear terms like, maybe the angels were not these ethereal beings that nobody could see. Maybe these angels were actually tribes of African people who were in league at points with these children of Israel and with God. And just like Abraham was sitting there eating with a physical man, and just like Jacob was wrestling with a physical man, there were people on the earth at that time who had given their bodies over to the angelic powers and were being used by the angelic powers. Our argument is it was these Ethiopians.
Hey, man, so between the Gnostics and the Arminians, hey man, they don't like, man. Listen, man, they trying to tear the bruise down. But y'all, they've been trying to get rid of y'all. Y'all just done, man. I say you popping up too and coming, they looking at you like you trying to bring this back, and we done already destroyed that. Y'all don't have no relevance. They gonna drop a video on you. They might not debate you. They might not invite you on the show, or nothing like that.
They won't.
But they gonna drop a video.
They won't. If they smart, they won't. But I tell you what. I'm fine with videos and all that kind of stuff. And who is he? And what right does he have to say this and this? Because guess what? I'm going to turn right back around and I'm going to devour you with information. I'm not going to come with my own traditional beliefs and what this John cannot, not to impede on our conversation, but that's the angle they come from. Well, the church fathers, screw all of that, man. Open the books. Let's open the books you're afraid to open, and let's see what the truth is. Because you can't come to somebody like me and tell me everything is just pseudo and pseudographia, and we shouldn't touch anything. And okay, so what are we afraid of here? If there's a unique truth in this book that's supposed to anchor me in the truth, why are we so scared to touch anything else and to see what it from? Why are we afraid to touch Samaria? Why are we afraid? That's why Reggie doesn't like me, because he don't want to talk about Kemet. He doesn't want to deal with Asar, and the fact that when you really begin to deal with the legend of Asar, and then you compare Asar to the legend of Enosh, something strange starts to happen there.
Yep, I mean Maury Zion Lex, he's done a phenomenal job of
making
showing,
a comparative.
Yeah, and dealing with Sumer, and was like, yo, man, you know, y'all trying to talk about Kemet, but
a lot of that is
Sumerian.
a lot of them stories came right out of that area of Sumer and Turkey and places. Because I think even in the Bible there was a point where the children of Israel were reprimanded for worshiping Tammuz. The prophet said he saw the women and they were crying for Tammuz near the temple. Well, Tammuz is just another version of Asar. So it's like those are the conversations they don't want to have. Why is that present in this land that you say is not active in any African culture whatsoever?
Okay, so Moray Royal says Amos 9:7 statement is not true. It does indeed read, and I'm just assuming he's talking from the Hebrew because he's a Hebrew linguist. He says it does indeed read, "Are you not like unto the Ethiopian to me?"
Like unto the Ethiopian. Let's pull it up.
So I was just reading the state, and the reason why I'm saying, and I'm assuming he's talking about from the Hebrew, I guess the Hebrew tradition
directly, right? Yeah, okay. I'd be interested to know where he's getting that from. I would rather pull it up more than anything.
Right. Okay. Again, I know him. I don't think it's from a contentious perspective. I just see.
No. I don't see it that way.
Amos 9:7. Let me make sure we read it twice to make sure that I'm reading this correct. Amos 9:7 statement is not true. It does. So he says Amos 9:7 statement is not true. It does indeed read, "Are you not like unto the Ethiopian to me?" So I just want to read. I'm just trying to read everybody's statements and comments and things like that on here.
Okay, no, can I read? I got it here on here. Can I read this to you?
Okay, yeah.
That's why.
Where are you reading it from?
I'm reading it from. I'm just going to read it from the King James. That's why I'm interested in what he's reading it from, and I'd like to get that so we can pull it up and look at it. Because I think we're saying the same thing. Maybe I phrased it wrong when I said it. So let's revisit it one more time.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it right here, and I want you to tell me grammatically what this says to you, right?
Okay.
It says, "Are you not as," ready?
Go ahead.
"children of the Ethiopians unto me." Now I'm gonna read it one more time. "Are you not as children of the Ethiopians unto me?" What does that mean to you when you hear that phrase?
And that's from the KJV, right?
The KJV.
Oh, let's see here. Let's see. Let me check if I can pull this up here. Hold on.
Now I'm gonna go into what's the name too to pull it up just to be.
You want me to screen share?
Yeah, you can if you want, but I just have it up. I just have the scripture up.
Okay, you just have it up. Okay. All right, hold on. Let me see here. All right.
No, I like this though. No, I love contention. You kidding me, man?
It's all right, man.
No, I take nothing personal, man. Even when you hear me,
I know you
arguing and stuff.
Yeah, I know you don't. I know you don't, man. Let's see here.
Now I have it up here in the. I have the blue letter up here, so I'm interested in what he's reading from.
Okay, hold on. Let's see here. Okay, he's reading it from the Hebrew. He just posted it up there from the Hebrew. He just posted the Hebrew.
So from the Hebrew it says Ben Pusi, right?
Hold on, let me pull it up from the KJV. All right, Amos 9:7. I'm just pulling it up here so I can show it on the screen. KJV. All right. Let's see. Let me go back. Screen share.
Can we bring him on? Is there a way to bring him on? Like, can he call in or something?
Let me see here.
I would love to have that conversation.
I don't. David Royal, Brother Roy, are you available to come on? I know he's in California as well.
Okay.
Let me see if I don't know if he may be driving or I don't know what he is. If you want to come on, Maury Royal, just to have a discussion, I guess on this particular verse and what you're reading it from, so that way we're all clear here. I can send you the link. I'll see.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I got it up here on the screen. I'm looking at the KJV here.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me close this real quick.
Look at this.
Okay, so I got it up here. You see it on the screen?
It's real small though. I can't.
Okay,
it's like
hold on,
pixelated.
Let me see if I can blow it up. Oh, can you see it? Hold on.
I can't see that. I can. Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay, hold on. All right, so it says here, Amos 9:7 says, "Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord? Have not I brought you up out of the land of Egypt?" So this is part you want me to look at as far as
So the word I meant to remove was not as. The word I meant to remove was not. So where we're typically taught, people would typically read this where it says, "Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians?" That changes the grammatic context of this phrase. If you read it as is, let's take the word Ethiopian now. Let's put your last name in. Say the Johnsons, right? Oh, not Johnson, but Brown, right? If God says to me, "DonLa, are ye not as children of the Browns unto me?" What does that say to you?
Are you not as children of the Browns to me?
God, go ahead.
He's comparing the two. It's basically, if you read it that way, it would be seem as though they're equal, right?
If you read it and say, "Are ye not as children of the blanks unto me?" God's perspective is, God is saying to you, as far as I'm concerned, I consider you to be their children. Now, if he was comparing you to them culturally and saying there are many things like you that I see in them, he would make the phrase say, "Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians?" Because at that point, grammatically, he's comparing you as children to the children in this land. But he doesn't say that. Instead, he says, "As far as I'm concerned, I consider you their children."
Right. Hold on real quick.
Even if you look at it, go for it.
No, go ahead, keep talking. I'm gonna send Maury Royal the link so you can.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Because even if you look at it in the Hebrew, it simply says Ben Kusi Ben Israel, which is still indicative of God comparing you to the children of another family, almost as if to say, these are your parents. The Ethiopians are your parents.
Okay. Hold on, let's see here.
And I also want to confirm that with Moses when I get a shot too, when you get an opportunity. Because that was a problem that Miriam had with the Ethiopian wife of Moses.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Trying to find his name. All right, Roy, I'm sending it through your Facebook Messenger. As soon as your page come up. This thing is slow. All right, Maury Roy, I just sent you the link, so you should get it. Send it to your inbox on Facebook. So let me know. Shalom, Elder Kevin Green. What's going on? Yeah, I just sent it to you. Okay, so I'm waiting on him to come on, and then let's see, where's it close this thing? Okay, there we go.
But do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Right. I got you.
Yeah. So that's, and I also wanted to just say, there was in the Exodus narrative, you run into a problem with the sister of Moses, where she has an issue with the fact that Moses married an Ethiopian woman prior to his coming back to them to rescue them or whatnot.
Mhm.
All of this ties into this same narrative, because if even some Jewish legends, if you go into the legend of who Moses actually married, rather than them just saying, oh, he married some Ethiopian woman and she didn't like him because she was black, or because she wasn't an Israelite, or because she was this. No, the legend tells you who this woman was. The most ancient oral legends and written legends we have says that Moses, before he rescued the people, during his military campaigns in the south of Nubia, married himself to a princess in Nubia that history remembers as Starbis. And this marriage, this union that Moses created with her, in essence, became the jump off for a lot of this cultural shit that's going on right now with the Ethiopians, their connection to Israel. Why, since the Exodus, there's always been a connection between the two groups.
Right, absolutely. Okay, hold on. I'm waiting on him to come on. I think you got the link. You got the link, Maury Royal. Probably trying to get his connection. That's why we wait on. Huh?
Most of you guys situated in Georgia?
Say that again.
Are most of you guys situated in Georgia?
Nah, well, we have, as far as our assembly, we have a congregation here, but you talking about as far as like Maury Royal?
Yeah, he's from LA though.
Yeah. He's not in LA, but he's in oh man, what is it? It's not San Bernardino. It's I think he's near Frisco, I think. Somewhere in the area. He said, hold on. He said, I have to at the end of the pass. No, if you click on the link, I sent you the full link. You shouldn't have to enter the password, but
I did.
You had to enter the password?
Mm-hmm. I actually had to go through my own personal Zoom because it wouldn't let me go through the link for some reason. Yeah.
I don't know why in the world it did that.
Yeah, it said your format might not be supported by Zoom. I'm like, no, I got Zoom on my phone.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. But so I guess would be, what are some of the books? I guess is there a particular particular books that's like in the starter kit for Sabian or whatnot? I'm just asking, what because everybody in their tradition has, some form of books that they hold dear and for reading, with the Bible, or that's a complement to it. I know with Nation of Islam, they have the Quran and the Bible. So others within the Muslim perspective, here he is. He's coming in now.
Okay.
Other Muslims, they don't deal with the the perspective of with the Bible. Some Muslims just deal with the Quran. What's going on, Maury? You got to unmute yourself, man.
Man, if I had your hands, I'd cut both of mine off. How y'all brothers doing today?
What's going on,
man? Blessings.
Oh man, everything's good. Just a typical lazy Oakland, California Sunday.
Oakland, okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, man. So, hey, brother, it's good to. How do you say your name?
Just DonLa, DonLa, Garfield
DonLa.
just saying DonLa.
Yeah,
so I just went with it.
I'll tear it up. I'll tear it up. Something terrible. It's a pleasure to meet you, brother.
You as well.
So yeah, I was calling in just to chime in here a little bit on the Amos passage. because I was looking at that, and I'm going to read it from the Masoretic. Well, I know it's the same in the Masoretic text as it is in the Leningrad. It's in the Leningrad Masoretic. Let me flip through a few pages. So, where are you located, brother? What part of the country are you in?
I'm in California as well. Yeah.
Where about?
Burbank area.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got,
yeah.
man, a whole slew of my family's down there. I got a brother and a sister both in Hawaiian Gardens. And all of my folks are wedged down there in the Inglewood area between Hoover and Figueroa. We're in the hood everywhere.
No, Cali's beautiful, man. I love
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think I'm moving in maybe 2 months, man. So yeah, I'm going out closer to the beach, man. So,
Okay. Yeah, I have to catch up with you, man, down there and break some bread with you, man.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely, man.
Okay, so in the Amos passage, chapter, where is it? 9:7. Yeah. So it reads, all right, here we go. Ooh, it's time for some glasses, Moray Brown. I have to quit playing, man. Blind is a bad. Okay, so it reads halo chivnei kushim. So it has chivnei. So vnei is sons of or children of, but the letter kaf is the particle, or it is the preposition that is comparative. Like, for example, the name Michael, Michael, who is like unto Elohim, and or like the children of Israel when they sang the song when they came out of the sea, they said, Mi chamocha, who is like unto you. So it is a comparative particle. So those two things are being compared or being placed in light of being similar and or the same. So it is a comparative particle with that cough on there. So I know it's the same in the Masoretic, and it's also the same in the Leningrad Codex as well. Yeah.
Oh, so, and I think we agree as far as my argument was not that the comparison is not being made. My argument is that when you deal with the grammar that's being used in the text, what's actually being said is we're not being compared in essence as saying, are you as the children of the Ethiopians? What it is saying in essence is, are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me? Which grammatically, those are two different phrases.
Well, I don't think that. I don't.
If you were to ask me, if you were to turn the phrase around and say to me, are you not as children of the Rockefellers to me? You're not comparing me to the children the Rockefellers actually had, because what you're saying is, as far as I'm concerned, are you not as their children? I see you as an offspring of that family.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So it's taught to us. It's taught to us as if we're being as children compared to other children, when actually God is comparing us to them as parents of the culture, saying, as in my eyes, I see you as children of the Ethiopians. You get what I mean?
I like it, but you're still wrong.
Let's go into it. Let's go into it. That's right.
And again, it's because there are multiple examples of this comparative particle being used throughout Scripture. Now, if it would hold true to your view, respectfully, if it would hold true to your view of the way it's saying, then it would be missing. There are a couple of ways that Hebrew could express that, and it's simply not here. So and again, just my humble opinion and my exposure to the text for some years, when that particle with the letter kaf is used, it is definitely always, and we already agree, you said, that there's something comparative going on. So we are on the same page with that. But this is making that direct comparison. If it's saying, are you not like as children to the Ethiopian, you're missing another word, and or you're missing a preposition onto
what is it? Can I ask
a word following? Sure, talk to me.
Okay. Like, what is it like? If you were to say it to me, like, what does it say when you read it? Like, to me.
When I read it,
Uh-huh.
it says, are you not like unto, comparative, like unto
hmm
the
We
children
agree.
of the Cushim. So
Does
are
it
you
say the
not?
children?
Yes, it
In which
does.
in
In
which passage are we looking at?
Kivene, it's Amos chapter 9, Amos chapter 9, verse Amos chapter 9, verse 7.
Because I've never read a passage where that the was actually there. So I would like
Oh, you mean
give just
the definite article, the.
yeah, because that would have to all I'm basically saying is if you read it in English as is today, that the is not there. So if we're gonna put it there, then we have to create the
Oh yeah,
narrative
you're
around
absolutely
it.
right.
Yeah. So if
Well,
the
you're right.
yeah, if you put the in the sentence, the then makes the comparison, which we agree with. The makes the comparison between you as a child of Israel to the child of the Ethiopian. And it says you're like that person. But when you remove the, what it's saying is you as the child of Israel are comparative to the Ethiopian as their child, their actual child, you being that child, not saying your comparison is children. So it changes the entire context of the text, but no one reads it without the.
Okay, I get your point. It's well taken, but also keep in mind when you know in biblical Hebrew, when you have like for example a compound word like kivne kushiim, it's more understandable for us because it's more, I guess, associated with English. We will say like unto the children. This can also be rendered simply, are you not like the Ethiopians to me? Are you not like the Ethiopians to me? So it's a direct comparison between a pair of races. Even the term b'nai, sons of or daughters of, is not to say that it's irrelevant, but this is primarily how the Hebrew Bible expresses nations with the phrase like B'nai Israel, the Shamru B'nai Israel, and the children of Israel kept blah blah blah. But in a lot of translations, you will see just simply and the Israelites da 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 da. So I think we can agree to disagree, but it is with that comparative particle with the prefix of the letter kaf everywhere that it's used in biblical passages. It's used to compare two things primarily directly in the sense of Michael, or one that is like unto God and X, Y, and Z. That's how it, by and large, how it works in the Hebrew Bible. I think that's an interesting viewpoint. I'm going to look at it some more.
Yeah, because I think we are saying the same thing on some level. I do believe they are being compared to the children of the Ethiopians. My only difference is I believe they're being compared in the sense of being as children. Like just like they're their children, I'm comparing you to being a part of that household as well. But no, we can agree to disagree. It's
right. That's interesting.
So I think essentially here is we have one from a Hebraic perspective and the other one from the Sabian perspective. But the thing that I love about it is it's not argumentative to the point to where it's all out war and
Oh no, definitely not.
It's a healthy conversation. I think that this is something that needs to be done. We need to see more of this within the community.
Absolutely.
Within whatever position you hold, I think that's the scholarly way of viewing things and doing things versus this gladiatorship that's going on. And I think it's edifying to the people to be able to look at the perspectives and share it. And it's cool. I see it all the time within European circles where, you have two white scholars and one may be Torah only, Tanakh only, and the other one is Messianic, and both of them are Jews. And they have healthy dialogue, and then at the end they walk away shaking hands, going to have lunch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm gonna tell you honestly, now I'm gonna run up out of here. The brother on the screen, he kind of exudes his spirit and his personality. And I know it's not about fist fighting and I'll meet you in the parking lot. You are correct. You are correct from the standpoint of this is why we can't dialogue in a meaningful way in order to build, because it's either my way or the highway, and that type of thing. It has to stop. So yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to hop in on here, brother, and get this exchange. And I did hear your information, info inside of the chat or whatever. And then I'll be heading down that way pretty soon, so my mom can see her grandkids, my brother's kids, and I would love to catch up with the brother.
Okay, awesome. And definitely,
Absolutely.
we definitely got to get up to. I got to get to California, man. I ain't been in a couple
Yeah,
years.
man.
Yeah.
Got to get out there, and hopefully it's one of those situations
It's all
where
right.
when I come out there, all three of us can link up, or
Yeah,
something. So
Yeah.
That
we have
would
to
be
meet
awesome.
halfway or something. But thank you all. Thank you, Moray. And we got to figure out something, get with this. Let me know the update on his Hebrew classes and things like that. Other people are interested.
Sure.
And I'll definitely holler at you as well. Hit me up in the inbox, brother DonLa. Man, I thank you for coming on once again. Great
Absolutely.
brother, great
It
spirit.
was fun.
And we can have more of these conversations from the Sabian perspective and the Hebraic perspective, and we just chop it up and build and dialogue and exchange and look at information. I think that's very important, and it'll be healthy to the people.
Awesome. Okay,
Yes,
fellas,
absolutely.
much love to you all, and blessings to you and your house. May y'all keep and watch over you both, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother.
You too, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Brother DonLa. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Again, once again, Israel more important. What these brothers in here now, they coming in dropping questions. They said, quote unquote, Israel more important than the Cushite, says y'all. It just they
I love it. Like, that's, once again, those are things I would love to have those conversations, because culturally we have to begin to look at if that's a true statement. We really do, because once again, when Sennacherib was coming to conquer the people, and he had Hezekiah caged up like a bird up in Jerusalem, and Hezekiah reached out to somebody to come and save his. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Hezekiah,
he reached out to.
He got on that
horn.
He
called up Taharka. He called Taharka from Nubia and said, "Hey, Taharka, whatever it is you do, can you do it? And I want to point you to something else." When in that passage, when it said he was going to seek out the Lord's help, and he called the king of Nubia, Taharka was like, "Yo, I need your help." The passage never says what happened to Taharka. It never goes into anything. It simply tells you that the leader of Assyria came back and was like, "Yo, bro, I know you called Taharka, but don't think he's about to come help you." Like, so that they knew that there was some power coming out of Nubia, and ultimately Taharka vanishes, and suddenly the angel of the Lord appears, and 185,000 soldiers are dead in one night. So let's have a conversation about what was really going on in Africa and Ethiopia.
I mean, it also shows there are times, even within within the scriptures, and those are the reason why the Most High will say things, about Cush or Ethiopia, or Egypt. Hey, you were a stranger in their land. Don't mistreat them, because there were also times, as you just pointed out, where Israel had to get on the Brews had to get on the phone. Hey, look, man. Hey, we kinfolk now. Don't forget, we got feuds going.
Don't leave me out here like this.
We need your help, man.
It's documented, and even in scripture. The scripture calls the Ethiopians the strongest, tallest, most feared people in the world. It's right there in the Bible. The God of the Bible says they are the most feared people in the world. There's a reason for that.
Yeah,
there's a reason for that culturally.
Yeah, I think our next conversation, let's kind of get into some of that, and I'm gonna see if David Roy can get back on, and some of the other brothers, and we can kind of get into those things of Israel and Egypt, or Israel and Cush, not from the perspective of what we know traditionally about the feuding and things like that, and according to our tradition, what the Most High did to Egypt, but from even after that, there were even times where I mean, when it came down to nations fighting, they did have some form of even with the Edomites. You're like, listen, you can't hate Edom, You know, I know that they've done some things and that I don't like as the creator, but I'm the only one that has the authority as the creator to deal with them. You, on the other hand, your behind need to make sure that you don't hate them for, you know, for he is your brother, you know, and things like that, or don't abhor an Edomite. So definitely, man, thank you for coming on once again, man. We have your information and whatnot, and I think it's going to be good. And I expect that with you. Go ahead.
Can I share one thing on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me see. I hope it shares. I just want you to see something.
Hold
share
on.
content. Okay.
I might have to give you.
Or should I send it to you?
Now, if you want to share it on your screen.
Honestly, if you can just pull up a Google page real fast. I just want you to type something in so people can see this.
All right, give me a minute. Let's see here. Okay, what you want me to pull up?
And if you're on Google, just type in the historian's hut.
The historians, you say hunt?
Hut, H-U-T.
Hold on. H-U-T. Okay, historians. Okay, then, I see it.
And then just but also in the Google, because I don't know where it's going to be on that page, but just next to that in Google, type in Greeks and Ethiopians and see if it comes up.
Oh, the historians huts, Greeks in Ethiopia.
It's an article that I was looking for up there. I have it saved here.
Hold on, I think. All right, I see something here. Is it ancient Greeks oddly believed in supernatural Ethiopian? Is that the one you're talking about?
Hey, facts. That one right there. I want you, if you can, have people read that article.
Okay, hold on real quick. Let me see if I can screen share. I'm just going to show a brief, show a little bit of it, and they can. My screen is acting up.
Can I drop one thing on it while you're doing that?
Yeah, go ahead.
And just, I think I might have lost you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, because my what's the name is loading up or something going on. Go ahead though.
Okay, so I want people to keep in mind something you have to know when studying anything about the Bible, anything about the ancient Greeks, Africans, Mesopotamians. There's one foundational thing you have to keep in mind, and it's that north is south and south is north. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the geographical layout of the planet we have, if you go to the tip of the northern geographic pole, you'll be standing at the tip of the southern magnetic pole. And the ancients understood this. So the ancients knew that while the geographic pole of the earth runs from north to south, the magnetic, or what they consider to be the spiritual pole of the earth, runs from south to north. And this is why when you're dealing with ancient Egypt, they call the southern portion of Africa the upper portion, and they call the northern version of Africa the lower version. So this is why northern Egypt is lower Egypt. This is why the south, and as you go closer to Nubia, you have the upper lands. This is also in Israel why the city of Jerusalem and all these things were actually, the kingdom of Judah was located in the south, because to the ancients, the south was considered the direction of heaven. It was considered the direction of origins. All things came from the south. Everything began in the south. So as far as the ancients knew things, south was the direction of heaven. So as far as it went, you had the south, which was heaven. You had the north, which was considered the direction of death. You had the east, which was considered the direction of life. And you had the west, which was considered the direction of the underworld. So you have to keep these things in mind when you're studying. So when I'm telling you about Ethiopia and these different things, keep in mind the Greeks saw this place as heavenly. The Egyptians saw this place as a heavenly place. So this was the heaven of the ancient world. So that's all I wanted to say, bro.
Okay, yeah, I don't, for some reason, man, I can see you. Yeah, it's turning. So what I did, I just posted the information in the chat so that way they can go and check it out. But for some reason my screen is like frozen. I
That's
see you,
fine.
but it's loading up or something. I don't know what's going on with this thing.
Yeah.
I
No,
can't
that's
find.
cool.
Brother Yashar said I can't find Don City of Angels on Facebook. Hold on, let me see here. Let me try to. Is that that's the same link me and you friends on, right?
Yeah. It should be this.
Okay,
You know what? No, that may be a different one. I think you and me are friends on my troll account.
which
But
okay, which channel? Which
yeah,
do you want me
Don
to?
City of Angels. It should just literally be just Don City of Angels. But if you send me like a link to that email, or I'll go in there and see if I got some kind of thing on there where it's
Hold
not
on.
letting people find me or
Is
something.
it
But it should be.
DON like?
Yeah, just DON, just Don, then City of Angels. Don space City of Angels. But don't put a space between City of Angels. It's all just straight up.
Okay, so just straight. Okay. Okay, I see it right
Mhm.
here. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you do it without the space, it's yeah, if you do just Don and then City of Angels without the space, it'll pull up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'll pull up. So I'm gonna put that in the chat too.
Yeah, I'm not on there crazy because I'm not on social media crazy, but I can get messages and stuff there if you got questions or something like that. And I post every now and then. But I'm working on the channel right now as we speak. So, but that article, just to give you a brief, just to let people know, that article, the title of that article is basically that ancient Greeks oddly believed in a supernatural Ethiopia with superhuman Ethiopians, and it was written in June 19th, 2017. So it's interesting. Get into it and check out the historical sources and things that they give you as to why they believe this place was a supernatural place.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out and whatnot. Like I said, I put the information in the chat as well. And so, brother, again, once again, I appreciate you, man, for jumping on. We'll get together again. And as
Sure.
I said, I want to kind of get together. I'm gonna try to see and I want to try to get a Christian brother on that.
I think I lost you, man.